Hello, Steeler Nation, and welcome to your Steeler Nation Vidcast, sponsored by Total Sports Enterprises, part of the Big Play Podcast Network. And guys, it's draft time. Are you as excited as I am about the Steelers getting new players? I am, because this always rejuvenates me for my passion for the year for football, especially after like the previous year when we lost to Cleveland in the playoffs. I was as low as I had ever been before we hit that draft. And then we grab awesome players like Najee and Freiermuth and Moore in the Green in the first 2 days, first three picks, then picking up more starters, getting a punter. Unfortunately, Roche being the only guy to leave us from that excellent draft class, but he made the team somewhere else in the league. Steelers draft class was epic last year. Great job with the scouts. Great job to Kevin Colbert and company, making sure that they got players that can contribute on any team. Most of them stayed with the Steelers. Steelers had 6 of them starting day one, 4 on offense, 1 on defense with Norwood playing and starting in the nickel corner position on day one, and as well our punter PH3. I love Presley Harvin III. But Roche is one everybody wants to talk about. If you guys don't want to talk about that, I'm always for you. Guys, this is your show. I'm taking your questions. I'm taking your comments. You tell me who you want to draft. I'll tell you who I want to draft. First thing I want to do is talk about quarterbacks and talk about the Wonderlic, because Filipponi just tweeted out the Wonderlic. And I want to see if this kind of changes your thinking on, maybe I like this quarterback a little bit more since they have a higher Wonderlic. But there was 3 quarterbacks that scored really, really high in the number 1 being with a score of 35 as a quarterback by the name of Bailey Zappi out of Western Kentucky. Highest score this year in the Wonderlic. Obviously, anything over a 30 is an excellent score. Sam Howell just a tick behind him from UNC with a 34. Then Malik Willis, number 3 out of the quarterbacks this year at 32. Very, very respectable numbers out of Malik Willis, Howell, and Zappi. Next highest, going down to the next tier, we hit 22. That's Carson Strong. Not Pickett, not Ritter, not Coral. Carson Strong was the only quarterback in the 20s. Now we drop to the teens. Desmond Ritter, the all-around athlete who I love. 19 Wonderlic. Kenny Pickett, All-American, highest floor in the draft. Pittsburgh guy with a 17. Matt Corral, another uber athletic guy with a 15. Does this change? I mean, to see Ritter, Pickett, and Corral being like 19, 17, and 15, which we normally make fun of quarterbacks in the teens, ladies and gentlemen. This is something that's been done on earlier podcasts, vidcasts, talking about it with you, chatting on the Pittsburgh Steeler forum over there at SteelerNation.com and the football forum. That's usually like a no draft if they're under 20. But now in this draft, who knows? We got some good players. Malik Willis, I think that really bumps him up in my book. I think it's really difficult for minority athletes to score high on the Wonderlic. A lot of these standardized tests are kind of slanted against them, but he's got a very, very good score as far as quarterbacks go, no matter who you are, as well as Howell and Zappi. But one other thing I wanted to talk about quickly before I start getting into your questions and comments, the Steelers closed the last hole on the roster, the starting hole, which I was always telling everybody are still our number 1 need in the draft is strong safety, until the Steelers just re-signed Terrell Edmunds. How do I feel about that? You guys know I am not a Terrell Edmunds fan. I think he's average as a starter. I think he can do the job. I just don't think he's a playmaker. That's my only problem with him. The positive about Terrell Edmunds is the Steelers did not spend $6 million plus on his 5th-year option. The Steelers got to re-sign him right now, which is his 5th year, for $2.5 million. 1-year contract. I am definitely fine with that. I think the Steelers are going to draft a strong safety. They have the option to doing it day 1 or day 2, but at least they have a starter on the roster who's a 4-year starter in this league for only $2.5 million. But like I told you, Steeler Nation, when you hold out in the free agency process, you don't break the bank. Strong safeties are weak in free agency. And we just saw a guy who was looking to try to get a $4 to $6 million contract. He ended up coming back and signing for 2.5. Thank you for at least coming back. I'm at least fine that hole is filled. It can still be upgraded with free agency. It can still be upgraded with the draft. We'll just have to see how the draft unfolds. But the Steelers don't necessarily have to draft a strong safety anymore. They can let it go and then go to free agency and maybe try to pop and pull in a Honey Badger, pull in a KZ. We will see. It's still out there, but if they use a higher draft pick to pull in somebody, then maybe that will change. Starting with you, Steeler Nation, my favorite show of the week. You guys always know this. You guys always pick me up. Going to your comments and questions. Michael Hall, my man, over on YouTube. How are you, Michael? Good to see you again today. Excited to see who we draft this year. Samesies. Tim, audio cuts out about every 5 seconds. Did it ship back over? I'm going to switch one. See if this helps, Tim. Okay, I just switched my Wi-Fi. I originally tried to make sure. You let me know to see if this is any better for Wi-Fi. But yeah, I've been trying to make sure, and I'm trying to get everything in a row too to make sure that we are solid for the draft coverage. Because if you guys do not want to watch the same crap that you see on ESPN every year, on NFL Network every year, where people are not allowed to speak their minds, people are not allowed to say anything negative about any draft pick. That's not my show. And I'm on the air the entire draft, right here on these formats, right here on your YouTube, your Facebook, your Twitter. I'm going to be coming to you live all 3 days in this same capacity, and I can take your questions and comments as well. So that's going to be a really, really, really fun way to spend the draft. Spend it with me. That way we can just talk Steelers the entire time. Of course, we're going to be really interested what our neighbors in our Northern Division do with Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Baltimore. Baltimore always does an excellent job in drafting. Cincinnati is much improved in drafting in the last couple of years, and so is Cleveland. These guys have really started doing a much better job bringing in talent through the draft. So I'm always really excited to see how these guys are going to target players. But I know none of those players are going to be targeting quarterbacks. We are. We definitely are. Thank you, Tim. Are you doing a draft party? Yep, that's it. Hey, Tim, you're our mind reader. Yes, we'll call it the Steeler Nation draft party. Screw the draft show. I will talk to the powers that be. See if we can just call it the Steeler Nation draft party. Yes, I will be live every day, every hour, trying to marathon the thing, not taking breaks like Mel Kiper. I'll probably be wearing shorts under the table again, but I'll be dressed well, have my cat in my lap again. Here's my cat. But I'm looking forward to it. I love that show, and I love interacting with you guys too. So please be part of the show too, Tim. Love talking to you. I've been great seeing you as well, Tim, always. Draft a punter, Matt Ariza from SDSU. I honestly do not think we're going to draft a punter, Michael Hall. If he falls out of the draft, maybe we can bring him in to compete against Presley Harvin III. But we gave Presley Harvin a little bit of slack at the end of the year last year with the death of both of his father and his grandmother in like 3 weeks. He lost 2 big family members. I know he took 1 week off. And that's what the Steelers do. They make sure that they're a family organization. Like no other football team will do this for their team, for their players. Every once in a while, you'll hear like other teams. Yeah, you can go witness the birth of your first child. Yeah, that you hear about every single place. But time off for death usually does not. You don't hear that story a lot in the NFL. Hell, they get to it a whole year. So, it's the difference between rooting for and loving a family organization and the Rooneys, like the Pittsburgh Steelers have with the Rooneys, and liking the Washington, whatever the Fs they are called this year, Commanders with Snyder, who doesn't give two craps about the fans, the community, or the players, or the cheerleaders, which fortunately now they are starting to be investigated by Congress, by Virginia, the state of Virginia, because the NFL does not investigate and they don't care. Anytime you ever hear, this is just a life lesson. Anytime you ever hear of an organization doing an internal investigation, you will never, ever get the answers of what they found. That's what happened with Spygate. The only time you find out the answers is when Congress has to be brought in to do the crap for them, or the court of law to come in and have to do the real work in this country and make sure there is actual justice. And hopefully those girls that were cheerleaders and treated like escorts over at the Washington dumpster fires will get some resolve out of this, these investigations by the government. Tim Y, I think it's me. Oh, okay. Well, I still switch over. It's easy for me to swap. Let me know coming up a bit more if there's any more. Aloha from Maui. Oh, Myrna, I love Maui. Got to visit Maui for the first time in February, right before COVID hit. And I drove. First thing I did when I landed at the airport in Maui, got my rental Jeep, drove to the top of Haleakala, watched the sunset, all the clouds fall down out of the sky, took a nap in my Jeep, woke up, and all the stars were out. It was absolutely stunning. And then I kind of stayed in my Jeep for the next couple days. I drove the figure eight around the entire island, the road to Hana, and stopped off, saw the rainbow trees, saw the red beach, the red sand beach, continued around when it becomes a dirt road and like the lower southeastern portion of the island, came back up through the winery there, Maui Winery. And then I found a neat route going straight down. It was really tough to drive around that top bulb too. The northwest bulb is really difficult driving. It's like one lane. Who knows who's coming around the corner downhill while you're trying to drive uphill. It is crazy. But I made it around there. I saw some neat stuff over there. One of those, what's it called? Like a spout, that they kind of like a whale spout, a blow spout, but a natural occurring spout that comes up and shoots water up through a rock formation. That was super cool. Went to Maui Brewing over on the west side on the way down through. And then the neatest part was once you get back down on the bigger bulb, the southeast bulb, I went due south on that the next morning. And I just kept driving past all the resorts, and I came to this chain link fence that's blocked off where all the volcano rock is, and you just keep going south. And I'm like, oh, I'll see if somebody turns me around. Keep going south, hit a turnaround, and could see that there was a beach in the distance, like just right over the ridge with a bunch of people parked. Checked it out. It was the Dolphin Cove. Gorgeous. It was pristine, awesome snorkeling. And then I walked south about a mile on the trail that just goes due south on the western side there to the Salt and Pepper Beach, which nobody knows about. And man, was that a great spiritual moment too. Just me chilling. These big black rocks from the volcanic activity and the big white rocks from all the coral that washes ashore. Then somewhere like structures made by early indigenous people that lived there on Maui. It was just absolutely stunning. And I would go back in a heartbeat. And I love all the Hawaiian Islands. I've been to most of them. Big Island's probably my favorite. Love Maui. I just went to Oahu for the first time. And then the far west one, the real lush one, I was to that one too. I forget what, for some reason, it's slipping my mind. But I know you'll come up with it. Welcome, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's up, Stryker? What's up, Michael Scott Joyner? Always good to see you. Good to see Facebook in the house. Good to see us all. Yo, Miles! This is odd, Miles. We went a whole week. We didn't draft. We didn't pick up another Miles. Oh, the draft is coming. We might pick up a Miles this week. We'll have to see. I'll be rooting for it. I thought it would be my boy Hamilton at 20, but now I just think the best option possible at 20 could be anyone. Yeah, and that was the thing too. Like, re-signing Edmunds means that we don't have to give up draft capital to get Hamilton. But if he drops to 15, I hope to hell they do. Because that guy, I don't want to see him not be a Steeler if he gets within 5 shots of us. Really don't. Audio fine now. Thank you, Timmy. Thank you. Gabe Gotti. Wow, it's been a while, Gabe. How you been, man? Good to hear from you. Nice. Timmy! Let's go, Steelers. Thank you, Mike Wood. Appreciate it. Michael Hall. Now we're starting to talk. Let's get into the bread and butter here, what we're thinking about the draft here, Steeler Nation. Top 2 picks we should get. Day 1, quarterback Willis. Day 2, safety Hamilton from Notre Dame. I like both, and they both fall to us. There is no way, zero chance that Hamilton falls to the second round. Now, I could possibly see a scenario where the opposite could happen, where Hamilton could fall from being the number one. Hamilton is the number 1 rated draft prospect at NFL.com. And yet nobody's talking about him being a top 5 pick or a top 10 pick. That is crazy to me. No need for strong safety. Strong safeties just aren't a need in the NFL. It's like drafting fullback, like drafting nose tackle. You can wait a couple days to draft those guys, right? No, not with talent like this guy. This guy's a special talent. No way is he making it out of the first round, though. I mean, if he fell to 20, if the draft happens this way, and I'm sitting there watching the draft, Hamilton is there and Willis is there at number 20. I'm taking Hamilton 10 times out of 10. I just am. And then that means that there's going to be a good quarterback in the second round. I don't know if the quarterbacks are just going to be starting to drop out of the first round too, because now we just heard some tweets from ESPN. I forget the guy who tweeted it out yesterday, but they stated that they're hearing that no one in the top 20 is even interested in a quarterback. So that they think that the first quarterback pick will be number 20 at Pittsburgh, getting their pick of the proverbial quarterback litter. So, we don't know. We don't know how this draft's going. We don't know if it's going to go crazy, and a couple teams that want to get quarterbacks are going to go jumping into the top 10, jumping in ahead of us into the teens, where Philadelphia has multiple picks, wanting to get extra picks in this thick draft. This is the best draft ever to trade back. Best draft ever to trade back, but there's tons of talent. Because we talked about it. This is the guys that took a year off from COVID are now all the fifth-year guys. This is like one of the biggest talented drafts. There's going to be a lot of undrafted rookie free agents this year that we're going to see around the league that become starters and become good starters just because of how thick this draft is. It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy the way it's going. And that's why we all still don't know how this is going to shake out. Like this is going to be a fun one because a lot of the times when we're all going into drafts, we all think, okay, this guy's going to be number 1. Peyton Manning's going number 1. There was an argument Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf that year when Ryan Leaf went number 2. But pretty much most of the people knew it was going to be Peyton Manning. People that knew better than me. I liked Ryan Leaf. I was wrong. But like years where you get a can't miss draft pick like Luck, like the guy that frickin' Cincinnati has now. These are just no brainers. Like Baker was not a consensus one. Like a lot of people were like, it could be a different quarterback. It could be a different player. Baker went 1. Congratulations. Thanks, Brownies. But yeah, this year's like that. We don't know who's going to go number 1. Hamilton's the best prospect, and he's not even in consideration of being talked about in number 1 or even in the top 10 that I've heard of. There's just zero chatter on strong safety. None. Scott, how are you doing over there at Facebook, my friend? If Hamilton is there at 20, I'm drafting him. Bye-bye, Edmunds. Speaking to the choir, I am with you 100%. 100%. AJ Hinton, how you doing, AJ? Jeez, I think I remember you posting a while ago. If that's the same AJ that I'm remembering, and good to have you back, man. Steelers did well by Tua and Harbin. Yeah, they did. I mean, you just don't see that in the NFL. You don't see them really say, like, you do what you need to do. You get your family in order. You come back, we'll be there. That's just like, that is unheard of. And I'm proud. I'm proud of the way the organization does these types of things. Yeah, it kind of hurts us in the short run. Yeah, it might hurt us for a season when we didn't have Tua. But we'll have to see. I honestly think they will cut to it if he does not play this year. I think that will be what is going to happen because they're not going to hang on to him for 2 years in this situation. It just does not make sense at all. Miles, Washington Dumpster Fires has a ring to it. That was one of my proposed names during one of my podcasts at the end of the week. Washington Dumpster Fires have always been like one of my favorite names for the Washington whatevers. It doesn't matter what they are always going to be a dumpster fire as long as they still have Dan Snyder striking the match every year on the trash he keeps throwing in that dumpster. Jeff Medley. Good to see you, Jeff. I think the first pick is wide receiver, defensive line, or safety. Best player available at any of these three positions. Definitely. That was like my number one take to try to go for, position-wise and what we need. We still need a slot receiver and a starting slot receiver. If we're just looking at prospects, and I'm going off of NFL.com for prospects, right around where it should be for 10, like Kyle Hamilton's number one on this board, guys. Like if he's there, he's a Steeler. There's just no two ways about it. A couple cornerbacks also that I was talking about as well. Trent McDuffie is an option coming off the board, and he's right now listed as the 8th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, just behind Sauce Gardner for top corners. Stingley being, it looks like about 11th. Now, if we get down around our range for defensive tackle, Jordan Davis, what's he listed at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11th. He's listed at the 11th slot. If Jordan Davis is there, guys, we got to think about drafting him. That guy is going to be a difference maker in our running game, period. Good. A guy that can bring in, does not have to start his first year, will probably rotate in certain situations, in certain games, can spell Alualu if he needs a breather, and should anything happen to Alualu again, we have a walk-on starter. That would be phenomenal. Phenomenal pick. But then we start getting into the area of wide receivers. It looks like they got Garrett Wilson at 9. Don't think he's going to drop to us. I don't think he's probably going to be the first wide receiver off the board regardless. Treylon Burks looks like he's at 12. 13, 14. Jameson Williams at 14. 15, 16, 17, 18. Now Chris Olave. That's one of the guys where I was considering bringing in a guy like that at that spot. Malik Willis also being there at 23. Pickett's listed at 24 here. And then we have Drake London from USC, another USC player, just like, wasn't Juju Smith-Schuster from USC, I believe? Correct me if I'm wrong, but that is an option. And then we've got our quarterbacks to talk about, guys. Corral's listed here at about 25. And I already mentioned Pickett and Willis right there before them in the 19 range. Ritter listed down here then, looks like in the 30s. So still first to second round pick, depending on what a team needs. Interesting. This draft is just so interesting this year to me. But yeah, let's hear back from you guys, since I don't have to stick here on the draft the entire time on the board. I just start getting into this. I start reading it, and I'm like, what's this guy going to do? What's this guy going to do? And that's the one thing, too, that I wanted to talk about Zap a little bit. Zap has the highest Wonderlic score, and he also has the sickest stats from any quarterback in this draft, being at Western Kentucky, setting the league records for FCS for passing yardage, completion percentage, and stuff like that. But here's what we go, at least with size, everything else that I marked, with all of the big five. We'll call them the top 5 quarterbacks: Pickett, Corral, Willis, Howell, Ritter. Pickett is number 1 in size. He's tied with Ritter for both being 6'3". Corral is number 2 in size at 6'2". Corral has the highest completion percentage, 67.9, nearly 68%, followed by Pickett at 67%. Everybody else is below 65%. Yardage-wise goes Kenny Pickett for 4,300 yards, 3,300 yards for Corral and Ritter. Then interceptions, they're all pretty low for all these guys, but Corral's the lowest with 5, followed by Pickett with 7. Quarterback rating, Pickett had the best with 165.3, it looks like. 158.7 Ritter. Ritter's running number 2 on this. Pickett's running number one on most of this stuff, except for the 40-yard time where Willis blows them all out of the water. Willis is also in last place in size, completion percentage, yardage, and touchdowns. Only has more, but has more, 7 more touchdowns than Coral and Howell. Crazy stats. But let's look at Zappe. Zappe and his numbers this year, nearly 6,000 passing yards, 5,967. That's nearly 2 seasons worth of passing yards in 1 year. 62 touchdowns, 62. 11 interceptions, a rating of 168.9. That's number one in all of those metrics that I just talked about, the big 5. Number one, including his completion percentage of 69.2. I don't know why people don't like small school guys. People don't like to poo-poo him, and he's number one in the Wonderlic. Got to consider this guy again. Maybe drafting him as a backup or a second option if you don't go quarterback early with one of the other guys. You get a guy like Zappe later. Could be a really interesting pickup. You talk to me. You tell me what you think too, guys, because I think that's just something interesting to think about as well. Going back to your questions. Miles. Panthers are picking up Willis. Dude's gone. Yeah, that's what I'd assume. Like maybe getting another Cam Newton type guy because that worked out well for them when they went 15-1 that year. Cam was the MVP. We'll have to see how it goes moving forward. Michael Hall, since we unfortunately re-signed Terrell for another year, he better help out Minka. Fingers crossed, man. I'm hoping he improves. He did improve significantly in one stat, and that was tackles for loss last season. He was in double digits, and I want to see him continue to improve that, but I want to see him hit harder. I want to see him come down and be more aggressive at the line and make more plays on balls in the air. I want to see PDs out of this guy, not just sitting around swatting butterflies. PDs. Let's go. Michael Hall. Hopefully it was worth re-signing him as well. Definitely money-wise. Like I said, $2.5 million is a hell of a lot cheaper than the 6 and change that it would have been for his 5th-year option. The Steelers made the right decision in cutting and re-signing him on a cheap option. I like Leaf as well. Yeah, Timmy, that was a weird draft. Okay, he was the bigger guy. 6'6", I think. Biggest hands ever recorded. One of those biggest hands ever recorded for hand size for a quarterback. But he was one of those people that he gets to go on the Rich Eisen show every once in a while. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Ryan Leaf on the Rich Eisen show. He hosts it when Rich isn't on there, and he is phenomenal. He has phenomenal broadcasting chops. Very eloquent, concise ideas, very smart guy, very witty guy. But he talked about Kenny Pickett and about how little he really cared about hand size when it comes down to how good a quarterback is. He just likes the fight in that dog. And he says Kenny Pickett's going to be a good quarterback this year. We'll have to see. But definitely enjoy his stuff. Guys, follow Ryan Leaf and see what he's up to on Twitter or whatever he's doing now, because he is worth a follow. Michael Hall, is it true Duck retired? If so, I was shocked when I heard the announcement. Yes, it is true. The Duck has retired and is now, where is he? On Golden Pond? Where do ducks retire? I don't know. Someplace beautiful and serene where hopefully he doesn't get shot at. Michael Hall, I want Honey Badger a down the block and goal before he retires at least. I would love him. I wanted him in that draft. I was hoping they would get him, but that was a pretty good draft. The Steelers ended up getting Bell in that draft, I believe. Le'Veon Bell. I think the first round was Jarvis Jones or I would have rather had Honey Badger in the first round. I think Honey Badger went in the 3rd that year. But I was like, trade into the 3rd, pick this guy up. This guy can play. Guy can absolutely play. Juju yep, USC as well. Cool. Thanks, Tim. Robert, hey, welcome back to the show, my friend. Always good to hear from you. Striker. We will know Steelers' opinion of Tuitt by whether or not they draft a defensive lineman in the 1st round. If they draft one any later than the 2nd round, that's completely irresponsible. I'm fine with that. Like I said, I am a big proponent of picking up Davis. Like my draft board, number 1, Hamilton. He's the Trump pick for me. If he's on the board, I'm taking Hamilton over anybody. Next one that comes down is Davis. I'm starting to think I'd take Davis over any quarterback in this draft too. I really would. I know that this team is really pushing for Willis for some reason. I don't know how they could pass on Davis. That guy is a top 5 talent in most drafts, but this draft is so thick. He's just rated at 11 now, so he could drop to 20. And especially since nose tackle and interior line is not as highly picked in this draft. Again, Robert, as second talking point, who did the Steelers have at left tackle depth? Please don't mention the couple of free agents they got. No, all the free agents that they got this year were actually all interior linemen that are center capable. All of them. Their tackle depth is Haig. Haig is the swing tackle. They are going to draft an offensive tackle in this draft. They are. I agree with that. They will pick up an offensive tackle somewhere in this draft. Calvin Pittman. How you doing, Calvin? Do you think either of the top 5 quarterbacks will still be available at the 20th pick? If so, do you think we draft him? It's got to be the way the draft goes. This is one where like the Steelers can get an excellent wide receiver, an excellent corner. Like this is the reason why the Steelers don't draft corners, guys, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to let you know is because we're too good at winning football games. We're never drafting in the top 10. That's why we don't have monster corners like other teams and draft well like other teams. I mean, I guess you can make the argument that Baltimore does it better than we do. But I can make the argument that we draft wide receivers better than Baltimore does. It's kind of a wash when it comes down to it if you're thinking of it. But, yeah, crazy, crazy stuff to think about. But at that point, if Davis is off the board, if Hamilton's off the board, I could see quarterback being the pick. Ritter's being thrown out there. Pickett's being thrown out there. Of course, Willis, it seems like the team is in love with. So we'll have to see. I only hope the Steelers don't move up in the first round. I don't think it is smart with the way that how thick this draft is to move up and lose draft picks as opposed to staying pat and picking who you have or coming back maybe in a round or two to pick up some extra picks because this is a thick draft. Absolutely thick draft. Miles back again. Miles of miles, miles and miles, miles and miles and miles. For your draft party, will there be any special Steelers guests? Yeah, we are working on that right now. I know last year we had Highsmith open up the show with us. We had Dotson when we drafted Najee Harris and got his reaction instantly. That was amazing. We had Kendall Simmons on day 2 when we were picking. So that was a lot of fun to have him in and on the air as well. So yeah, you never know who we're going to have in and out. I know Justin Fabus is going to be in here, the country music singer, huge Steeler fan. He's signed on for sure, but I know we're still finalizing in the 11th hour. Who's going to be on the show? I'm not sure yet, but we will have some people coming and it will be fun. Corey Frank, big facts. Desmond Ridder is moving up and he's the hot topic. Mark my words. He will be the best quarterback in this draft over Pickett Willis and is NFL ready. I will not be shocked if he becomes a Patrick Mahomes type, hopefully in a Steelers uniform. And that is one thing that I love about Ridder. I think Ridder is, and I agree with you, Corey, I think he's the most athletic quarterback totally as for being a runner and pass and thrower, I guess would be the other way to say it, with his legs and with his arms. The combined talent, I think he is that type of player. I can't disagree with that at all, really. I think that's a great point, and I wouldn't be upset. I would not be upset if the Steelers decided that Ridder is their guy and they're taking him round 1, as long as Hamilton isn't on board. Then I'd be upset. Michael Hall, what is your final mock draft or Thursday look at, if you don't mind me asking? If you want, I can look up my final mock, which I did talk about. I think I talked about it last week on the podcast, which I did. So let me go over to Steeler Nation and see if I can grab my final at the Steeler. I have it on the Steeler Nation forum, football forum, because we did a mock draft for the 7-round mock CBS draft. And I'm just going to type in a quick search on this 7-round CBS. And search it and just see what comes up. It didn't come up. Great. It was the CBS mock. All right, let's just do CBS mock. Boop, boop, boop. CBS mock because I know it's over there if you guys wanted to grab it or check it out. And of course, it's not. This search engine stinks on here. I got to go through it individually here. I'm skimming here as quickly as possible. Obviously, it's not on the first page. Maybe we'll be on second page. But if you really want to know, I know the first guy I took, if I'm trying to go off of the top of my head, I believe I took Davis first and Ritter second. Those were the two. 7-round CBS mock draft. Yes. I think I found it right here. I did. Here it is. And my picks coming in, I did. I took Davis round 1. We have to take that value because the value for there in that draft pick, the way it fell, the way that draft fell, Davis was the best player available, locks in that big need for a guy for the future and the interior to play with Cam, to hopefully play with Tuitt. Just a no-brainer. Ritter, I took in the second round. He's my favorite quarterback in the draft, and I'm not passing on him in the second. The third pick I took was Khalil Shakur. And he's a wide receiver, a slot guy, but he's a much bigger body guy, not small like Austin. He also plays kick and punt return and can run the football. Was in on running plays, actually. So it'd be a nice, diverse weapon in there for Matt Canada. I didn't write down the damn schools for these guys, and I'm sorry for that. But at 138, I took Percy Butler, the strong safety. I like him because he's a hard hitter. I like hard hitter guys. He's excellent in special teams. He's fast as hell. He's got the size and the speed to play in the NFL. And he just hits hard. I want a strong safety that just hits hard. And that's my kind of guy. I go Percy Butler there with that pick. I went pick 208, Pierre Strong. The running back who was the FCS Walter Payton Award winner fell all the way to pick 206. And I pick him up to back up Najee Harris. And pick 241, my last pick of the draft, I went with Hayward's brother because who knows who we're picking in the 7th round. But a backup fullback, possible backup tight end, guy that's going to be a special teams monster. And probably will get him as an undrafted rookie free agent no matter what, because I don't see him going to any team but Pittsburgh. If Pittsburgh makes an offer, it doesn't matter if other teams offer him more money. He's going to Pittsburgh to play with his brother. So that's probably the way we're going to get Hayward's brother out of Michigan. But it would be interesting to see him in a black and gold uniform. Brian Brown! Strike! Good to hear from you, Brian Brown. Always, man. Always. Miles, I will be spending the draft with you, Stryker. Thank you, Miles. It will be fun. It'll be right here. You guys know how to find me. My Vidcast guys know how to find me. I'll be launching off the same platforms that I utilize, and everything's already working, so we're going to do it that way. Robert back again! Tuitt still hasn't and won't tell the Steelers what's up. Therefore, you usually don't get a guy as good as him in the lower second round, and that should have 100% be defensive line first round. Hopefully Davis, man. Hopefully Davis. I would be very happy with Davis as our first pick. Michael Hall. Baltimore will always be number 2 in terms of what the Steelers do in draft-wise. So I'm not going to short. I will not short what Ozzie Newsome was able to do since he went to the he actually transferred to Baltimore when Cleveland moved when Browns moved from Baltimore to become the Baltimore Ravens, or from Cleveland to become the Baltimore Ravens. Ozzie Newsome was on that team. He was their draft guy, their GM. He did a phenomenal job. He drafted Hall of Famers like Ray Lewis, Haloti Ngata, that giant monster off Jonathan Ogden. Oh my gosh, biggest man I've ever stood next to. That guy is an absolute giant. He's like 6'10", it seems. That guy is just a monster. But he got incredible, especially on defense. Nobody could pick defense like that guy. Not going to short him at all. Plus, they won 2 Super Bowls under him. Steelers under Colbert, I think we won 2 and made it to 3. So they're on par. Colbert slightly better because we made it to a 3rd. But they won more playoff games than we did in that amount of times. Not necessarily on the GM. That's luck of the draw. That's injuries. That's the way games play out because it's a game. If it wasn't a game, it would be easy. You just say they advance. If it was Madden football. Derek, how you doing, Derek? I don't know if I've ever had you on the show, but welcome. Welcome, Derek. What's up, Stryker? Is our first draft pick going to be a quarterback or a receiver to replace Juju? I hope it's receiver. You know, I don't want to lock into a quarterback in the first pick, to tell you the truth. I think there's just too much talent on that board that's going to be more highly rated than any quarterback in this draft. I will understand if they draft a quarterback, but I won't like it. And early out, you know, if you were talking to me 2 weeks ago, Derek, I was going wide receiver or cornerback or safety as my pick in the first round. Now safety's kind of off the board unless Hamilton falls, because that's my wet dream. That's my wet dream pick of the draft, is to pick up Hamilton in the first. It'll throw our draft out of whack, but it won't matter because we'll get a potential Hall of Famer. That's what you get. And that's something I'd be excited about. But yeah, the wide receivers are amazing. Wilson, Willis, Olave, a lot of Dotson. There's a lot of great talent going to be right there at 20. Great talent and immediate impact players. So whereas like our backups before, like Washington, really didn't do too much. We'll have to see what happens. Though I'm pleasantly optimistic with Boykin. I think picking up Boykin means we don't have to get another edge guy. We've got our ex-receiver edge locked down with DJ, Pro Bowler. And he's probably getting a new contract this year, guys. Claypool's locking down the other side as the Z receiver. We have Boykin as a backup Z, can play some slot, can move around a little bit. Very athletic guy. He's sparky as hell. That Boykin pickup's going to be interesting. And now we're going to see, Steeler Nation, whether it's the quarterback or the team is the reason why Baltimore can't develop wide receivers. I personally think that Ben Roethlisberger didn't get the credit that he deserved developing wide receivers and having them have their best years when they're in Pittsburgh and not as good when they move on. I think only Emmanuel Sanders was the only player that had better years outside of Pittsburgh. Wallace, I don't think he did. AB, definitely not, which is insane because that guy was on a Hall of Fame track. Absolutely on a Hall of Fame track with Ben Roethlisberger throwing him the rock. So crazy where we're at now. I always get on tangents. I apologize. Michael Hall, what do you have planned, food, drinks, snacks-wise, for 3 days of the draft? I have not planned it all yet. Probably going to have, what I usually did and what I did the previous years. And the only one that's usually the toughest one for me is Saturday, because Saturday I'm sitting in front of the screen for about 9 hours. And I always bring a cooler downstairs, has all my waters, has all my drinks. Today I'm going to crack an interesting drink. Don't know if you guys have had this one yet. I work for PepsiCo. Like I run promotions and stuff for them. Pepsi Nitro, baby. Nitro. I don't drink beer that much anymore, but now I drink Pepsi Nitro. Give me a little bit of beer feel. I prefer it. You can pour it into a glass. You got to pour it hard into the glass, and it keeps a nice head in there for a bit. But it feels much creamier just keeping it in the can and drinking it out of the can. That's the way I like to drink the Pepsi Nitro. And my friend Ashley, she says it tastes like flat Pepsi. So it kind of does too, but I enjoy the mouthfeel of it. It's slightly different bubbles. It's not those big sharp bubbles like you get in with the CO2. It's real smooth bubbles like you get in a Guinness. And my cat agrees. Yeah, my cat likes the Nitro as well. So I'll have some Nitro. I'll have some Mountain Dew. I'll have some energy drinks. I drink a lot of Bang now as well. That's my go-to since it's 0 calorie. Decent amount of vitamins, some rock stars, 0 calorie and low calorie rock stars as well. They'll be my drinks of choice on that day. And then a couple sandwiches. Try to have like snacks. Snacks-wise, I'm a potato chip guy. So we got a lot of Frito-Lay stuff here in the house. I'll have a whole thing of chips next to me. I'll pop through them. Definitely love my Lays. Definitely love the if I can get them, the Cheetos, the puff corn, they're my absolute favorite. They're like the kernels removed, like there are no kernels in it. It's all like puff, and it tastes like Cheeto, and it just melts in your mouth. Oh, fresh out of a bag. I can't keep a bag around. I eat the whole thing. So I might have some puff corn that day too. That'd be fun. But join me. We'll all talk about drafts and snacks and everything else, and I'll be there. You got to figure out a way to go to the bathroom, but I'll figure that out. Miles, I was watching All Steelers talk today, and 20 Linderbaum, the tackle, was available in the mock draft. Thoughts on picking him up at 20? Oh, Linderbaum. No way. Wow. Let me go here to my stats and who I like at there. See, Linderbaum on this list looks like he's going to be like the number 8 pick out of Iowa. Yeah. And Linderbaum is also, he's a center. And the only problem I have, I think he's a phenomenal talent. I really, really do. I think he's a top 10 pick. But my problem is, where do you put him? The Steelers currently have 4 starters on the team right now that have started at guard and center in the league. 2 we just picked up this year in Daniels and Cole. 1 we had on a roster. We drafted him last year in Green. And then we also have J.C. Hassenauer, who signed his exclusive rights free agent contract. So he's locked into us as well. There's just not the need there for it. I don't even know if it's that much of an upgrade over Cole or Daniels. I really don't. So to me, it would be more of a luxury pick. It would be, and that's a slot where I probably want to go somewhere else, go a different direction. But it's an interesting thing to think about. If one of the offensive tackles drop, I'm with Robert. Like we were talking before, there's potential to drafting an offensive tackle in the first round. With as crazy as this is, a great offensive tackle can still drop out of the top 10 and end up falling into our laps at 20. And that has to be something that we have to seriously consider if that happens, to upgrade the offensive tackle position. Robert, Haig is like the other tackles we've had the last few years, right tackles. Steelers' lack at left tackle depth is as big a crisis this year as lack of inside linebacker depth was Ryan Shazier's last year. Well, to be fair on Ryan Shazier's, we did have tackle depth. We had freaking Matakevich. Matakevich was slotted coming in, all set to play. He got injured the same game, blew out his shoulder in the exact same game where Ryan Shazier was taken off the field on a stretcher. And that's why we got upset with the inside linebacker depth. We had to get massively attacked at inside linebacker depth, and it all happened in one game. I think if Matakevich was still around, we could have made the Super Bowl that year. Honestly, we just ended up being at nobody being able to play interior line for us that year, trying to bring back Sean Spence and that. But I do agree. I think that we do have a need at offensive tackle, and we are going to draft it. And Robert, we can get it deeper in this draft. We can get starting caliber left outside or left offensive tackles later in this draft. Usually it's only a day 1 type thing. This year we're looking at round 3, round 4, possibly round 5, finding starters at left tackle. This draft is great for talent for offensive line this year. Rick Giddings, it's been a while, Rick. Good to hear from you, man. If we want Davis, better be ready to leap the Chargers. Defensive tackle is their weakness and only hole for that team. I thought offensive line, they could have upgraded a bit too. Raiders were getting to them pretty effectively. Offensive tackle, I think would be a need for them as well, Rick. But I don't disagree with that as well. It just comes down to draft mindset. Is a team willing to take an interior defensive lineman when interior defensive linemen have kind of dropped? Like, this is more of a nose tackle guy as opposed to being an outside edge, or maybe like a 2 to 4 tech or a 3. Definitely, like, I think he has the metrics to be a 3 to 5 tech like we have with Tuitt and Cameron Hayward. I mean, those guys are monsters on the edge for our defensive line and play our system perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. I think Davis can be moved into that range too, just with his athleticism. But I think people see him as being a nose tackle first. And that just comes down to whether or not teams think that nose tackle is a high need. Baltimore will always be number 2. I can't disagree with that. Brian Brown, I still try to convince people to this day that the Baltimore Ravens are really the Cleveland Browns in purple. People still hate it when I call them the Baltimore Browns. And I live in the Baltimore area. I'm like, how are the Baltimore Browns doing this year? Call! Bad call, ref. Bad call. Those dirty birds. Aaron Harris. What's up, Striker? We moving up in drafts, a quarterback or a safety? I don't think we will move up for a quarter. You never know, though. Like, it would be weird. I honestly think it would just be weird to move up for a quarterback at this point. There's going to be so many good options there that are all about the same, that somebody's going to be in our lap that we're going to end up happy with. We really are going to be ended up being happy with somebody. But yeah, but for safety, Hamilton is the only guy I'd move up for in this draft, period. Period. I talked about before possibly moving up for Willis. I'm off that train. Talked about before maybe moving up for Davis. I'd have to think maybe 1 or 2 picks. But the only guy I'm really moving up in the draft for would be Hamilton. If that guy falls to 15, look out. I would give up draft capital for that guy and that guy only. And that sucks because this is such a thick draft with so many good players. But to get a guy that good, making our defense, I don't know how you pass on that defense. If we get another shutdown safety, it doesn't matter who our cornerbacks are. It doesn't. Like when we had Clark and we had Polamalu. I mean, fortunately, we had Ike Taylor. Ike Taylor, one of the best corners we've ever had, really underrated in Steeler Nation, Steeler history. But it didn't matter who played opposite Ike. Who was it? Some guy. some guy this year. McFadden, is it some other guy this year? We got somebody else coming in. I don't know. Is it Washington? I don't know. Some guy. As long as we got Ike, we had the 2 safeties. Those 2 safeties were doing all the heavy lifting. Really, they were. And especially Polamalu, being probably the best pre-snap player I've ever seen in the NFL. Just disrupting quarterback reads and calls by moving quickly right before the snap of the ball. Always freaked them out. Always freaked out quarterbacks. And it didn't matter if he was going toward them or just running to a different position and just confusing the hell out of quarterbacks while somebody blindside tackles a quarterback from Polamalu doing his Polamalu stuff. But yeah, safety's the only one I move up for, Aaron. Great call. Good hearing from you too, Aaron. Derek, I promise to be with you more. Love the show. Keep up with it. Good work, sir. Thank you so much, Derek. And I hope you join us for the draft show too, man. It's going to be a blast. And I can't wait to talk with you guys too on the draft show. Obviously, I'm not going to be as hard into the segment as I am for the vidcast because the vidcast is your show. But I will be going to you hard at times. Especially I want to get your reactions once we draft. I want to hear what you're thinking when we're getting close to the draft because we'll be popping out to you and getting some input. And that's going to be really, really fun to do on this draft. So I'm looking forward to doing that. And what is that? Okay, I don't know how that reads. They should lock up DJ now for cheap. 100%. Lock him up to that $18 million he was throwing around. Hell, as many years as he wants to give me, I lock him up and I laugh all the way to the bank because that cap's going up, and pretty soon they're going to be spending freaking $28 million on receivers. That's coming down. $30 million on receivers. We're going to see it in the next 5 years, guys. This cap is going to blow up once the streaming deals come across. We're going to have jumps in the cap like 20, 30 million every year as opposed to 10 million, 10 to 12 million jumps that we've been used to seeing. Caps are going to explode. Absolutely explode. I'm a numbers guy. It's just the way numbers work out. Rick Giddings, agree with you 100%, Stryker. If Hamilton falls past 10, I'd be on the phone. He's the best player in the draft. I agree with you. NFL.com agrees with you. I don't know what, Kuiper, I don't really follow Kuiper and McShay and all those guys. People just get too upset over what they think about. I mean, yeah, they have a niche and they do it well and they get paid very well to do it. I don't get paid much. I get paid a little bit, but not enough to retire on yet. And I don't get vacation time yet. Tim, in general, I don't believe it would be smart to give wide receivers max contracts. Too many good receivers every year. And that is an excellent point, especially with how NFL ready wide receivers are now coming into the league. You hit the nail on the head there, Tim. That is a perfect observation because each and every year we're seeing wide receivers that are starter ready because of the way that these offenses are run in college. And these offenses are all wide receiver driven. I mean, especially when you have great talent. And that transitions so equally to the NFL. It used to be like, we used to have this discussion exactly for running backs, and it still holds true. Running backs always have the easiest transition, in my opinion, to the NFL because they have always held the football every single day in practice, every single day in high school, every single day in college. They were the man. They get to the NFL, they're used to having the ball in their hands all the time. And it translates very well when we see a guy in the first round like Najee Harris take our offense and become an instant starter and start the Najee Harris offense for the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is going to continue this year. And I'm interested to see how we're going to really, really accentuate his athleticism, getting these blocks for him this year. Because now, hell, we didn't have blocking and he had 1,200 yards and made the Pro Bowl. We didn't have blocking. Now that we have blocking, could he get 2,000 yards? He could. Robert! Just drafting an offensive tackle in the bottom 2 rounds is not giving them a guy who will play this year. Second day draft, and they don't get a left tackle who will hunt them with injury at left tackle. And I know we've had this argument before, or you've told us this argument before on previous shows. I hear you. But this draft, I'd say down to 5. Round 5 would be the absolute last round I would take an offensive tackle. 6 and 7, no. But there is going to be good talent in round 5 this year on offensive line. Watch it. Watch it, man. This is a sick draft. Absolutely sick draft. Brian Brown, my little sister, used to do the same job for PepsiCo. Nice. That's great, Brian. I'm not sure where you are in the country, but I do marketing and promotions. I actually run my own company. So I'm going to be busy. I'm actually going to be at the Washington Commanders draft party. We're running this big on-field thing for Pepsi Zero Sugar. We're going to have a big footprint. I'll send pictures of that too for the draft show and probably tweet from there too once I get my setup up when I'm standing there on the field. Because I am going to set that up before coming over, driving back home and starting the show. I'm so excited for Thursday, man. It's like Steelers Christmas, but it doesn't last one day. It lasts for 3 days. We keep getting presents. Round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4, round 5. Do we have round 5? Round 6, round 7, round 7. Undrafted rookie free agents. Presents for everybody. Ah! I can't wait for Steeler Christmas. AKA the NFL draft. Sorry for my unintentional Kermit the Frog impression there, guys. Rick Giddings. Linderbaum is an offense as a center, yes. And he's been falling in most I've seen too. He's a mauler. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, where do you put him? I think he's a phenomenal talent. He's obviously better than Green. I just don't see that as a need. But if Steelers truly draft BPA, and a lot of these guys like Davis is off of the board, the top 3 corners off the board, top 3 wide receivers are off the board, Hamilton's off the board, top offensive tackles are off the board, and Linderbaum's sitting there. We'll see if we're an actual true best player available drafting team, BPA. That would be interesting, an interesting read. Miles, I thought he was a tackle in my book. Yeah, that knocks him out. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah, but I would take, if one of the big tackles drop, I'd take it. Rick, again, Panthers GM has informed Sam Darnold that they may draft a quarterback in round 1. They might do it. They might. I didn't hear that come out. Did Sam actually tweet about that or talk about that in an interview? Because that would be interesting. That is interesting news. I also know New Orleans is another team that's being linked to needing a quarterback as well. So we'll have to see if that happens. I like massive attack. Nice. Would Logan Hall be an option? Logan Hall for round 1. That was a name I haven't heard linked to the Steelers yet. But we'll see where he falls in. I guess he'd be farther down as an option. Yeah, I see Breece Hall from Iowa State. I don't see Logan Hall in the top 50 here. So you'll have to inform me on Logan Hall. I'm not up on 100% everyone. I follow the draft. I'm excited about players that come in. I don't know everything like people like Alex Kozora. He definitely really follows everything. Or our guys here, Ben McCallion, Matt Papiernick, our draft gurus here at SteelerNation.com. They know their stuff better than I do. Yes, he is a UH guy. Awesome. I'm shocked that you're going to be drinking I'm shocked you're not going to be drinking microbrews, Stryker. Yeah, I may throw one in but I'm trying to keep my drinking to a very, very low minimum. I got a little sloppy. I don't know if you guys watched me day 3 last year. I was doing a cheers for every single Steeler player drafted, and I'd have a beer. Like, obviously, round 1, no problem. Day 2, 2 beers, no problem. Day 3, we picked up like 6 or 7 guys. I got a little sloppy toward the end. And undrafted rookie free agents, I'm not going to be drinking then. You can't do 10 drinks right then on the last hour. That would just be insane. It's like a power hour. The Bill Cowher power hour. But yeah, I might slide something in there. But yeah, I'm just not huge into drinking that much anymore. Robert would not be happy with any of the quarterbacks in round 1. I know, but I guess we're having more talk about your UH guys as well too. Was that was Logan Hall? Is that the corner, or is that the defensive tackle that you were talking about? I know it was one or the other. Now that I'm starting to remember it. Starting to remember there, Cooley. All right, now I know who you are. I got 2 Roberts up here, both coming off of YouTube, but now I know who each are. Thank you, guys. Miles, I know we've been talking about your party a bit, but I've never attended it. For the Steelers guests, would chat be available to communicate with them and ask them questions as well? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, Miles. I think that's a great idea. And especially you guys that I see on my show every week, you guys get priority. So Robert Tamburo, Miles Prescray, Brian Brown, Michael Hall. We got Anthony Laird, all my boys, Robert C. even. I might even let that butthead on here. Ask a question or two to the talent that we have. You guys would get priority because I know you guys. This is your show. Be awesome. Be absolutely awesome. Ryan, best offensive tackles are elite, and they are central as these flashy skill position players who most of the fan, that's like they are and the only guys they notice. Yeah, but it's also true that we need to get players to help out our new quarterback. We are still missing that slot receiver. That's going to be filled somewhere in this draft. And still we're drafting for depth at offensive tackle. We have 2 starters. Yeah, we can upgrade. I will agree with you. We can upgrade, though. Ryan, no, Stryker, you misunderstand. I mean, the Steelers lack the inside linebacker depth that year with the glaring problem at their lack of left tackle depth this year. No, I understand it completely. And like I said, we really got killed on depth when we lost 2 big interior linemen in the same game. One that was our starter, one that was our main backup, backing up both positions that year. And Matakevich, who's still in this league and playing hard for the Buffalo Bills. Robert, I'm going to give you poop this whole draft. Yes! And I know Robert will be drinking the whole draft. So the comments will be getting more and more fun on Saturday as we keep going down the line. I know that for a fact. Michael Hall, DJ was honored to catch the final touchdown pass. Harris was honored to put the final nail in the coffin, and Norwood honored to give Big Ben his final curtain call. Hashtag Holy Trinity. And that's a fantastic three right there. 2 of them being rookies. DJ being the only one that's not a rookie out of those guys, but I love DJ. I absolutely love DJ and hope he continues to trend upward. Great call and great comment there, Michael Hall. Since leaving for KC, I will never forget the call made to Juju from the Steelers. It made me cry. Thank you, Juju, for all of the fun you have given us and all you have done. You are an exciting player, and he was an incredible member of our community. Really was. Really helped out with it, turkeys at Thanksgiving, going and deliver them even through COVID. He didn't care. That was something he did every year. Wanted to make sure that families got meals. He had his other programs. I know he liked to do the fun stuff downtown. Hey, let's go downtown and have a water balloon fight. Let's go downtown and have, on a hot day and just do crazy stuff. And his dancing didn't bother me. He was a fun-loving guy. He wasn't malicious. He wasn't mean. He was a good dude. So good luck to you in KC. And yeah, great call. Two excellent back-to-back posts there, Michael Hall. The Brobarian 0. Aaron Harris, do we need a Spady halfback compliment to Najee? Not necessarily. I think we just need a guy that's capable of toting the rock should anything happen to Najee. I think Snell is still rostered for 1 more year. After that, and we still do have McFarland, right, on the list as well, the guy from Maryland, and he is supposed to be the speed back. So Not necessarily, but we'll have to see where what we're open to do here for these last ones. And guys, we're getting close to the end of the show. I live north of Jacksonville, grew up in Roanoke. Nice. Yep. I actually employ people in Roanoke, so she might have worked with me. That's awesome. Kenny Beamer, let's go. Hell yeah, Kenny. Robert, do you agree that the fans that want skill positions first don't realize how much better our skill position guys will be with a dominating all left tackle? I can't disagree at all. So, it's Steelers know that the offensive line runs the offense. And that's why the Steelers are better at drafting and getting centers than any other team in the league. I mean, that may swing me back over to picking up the guy that we were talking about just a little bit earlier. The guy out of Iowa, Linderbaum. Yeah, we could swing back to doing that. The Steelers want to get a decade-long center. That's what they do. And it builds from the inside out, the way the Steelers build their lines, but you need that left tackle to make sure the quarterback stays upright. You really do. Great call. Draft week! Heck yeah. Robert, you should read Steeler Nation articles. They did it. They did it today. Yes, nice. Yeah, read the Steeler Nation articles, guys. SteelerNation.com. They talked about Hall. Was that what you're talking about? I have not had a chance to read anything today. I've had a day. I can't even get into it. Day 3 was hilarious. Yeah. We don't have a 5th round draft pick, so we could get a tackle in the 5th. How could we get a tackle in the 5th without a trade? Might have to get a trade. Day 3 was a blast. Thank you, Beamer. It still will be a blast, no matter what. I'm either going to be high on caffeine. I'm going to be high on caffeine instead of alcohol this year. Robert, or am I wrong? Or am I wrong? Sorry, maybe that's a 4th round. We don't have. Please correct me. No, you're right. Yeah. So first 4 rounds, we should be taking an offensive tackle, and I'd agree with that. And I think we can find a starter in those 4. Logan is the defensive tackle that one of the Steeler Nation guys mentioned today. Yeah. Oh, awesome. And that's the guy out of Houston. Okay, now we're all on the same page. Thank you, guys. Ban Mel Kiper from the draft. Hashtag hire Striker. Hashtag go Steelers. I have a better beard. It just comes down to if people on TV would rather look at a beard than like that coif bouffant hairdo that that Kiper has. What'd you call him? The cross between Count Dracula and Martin Sheen. If they had a baby. That's still one of my all-time favorites, man. Love it. Crystal Pepsi! Yeah, I love Crystal Pepsi as well. I thought they should have brought back Pepsi Kona by now. The coffee Pepsi. Now I see Coke has already put out a coffee Coke. Is now on the market. So, Pepsi, you screwed up there. Robert, by the way, I like the rookie tackle we drafted last year and thinking a couple more years, he might even be above average. But he's like all of their tackles, they're just more right tackles. Well, he played all left tackle all last year. I thought he did actually really well against a guy like Myles Garrett, which was very impressive considering he was supposed to be Defensive Player of the Year until a guy like TJ Watt's is like, let me show you what I can do. Miles, I'm only 19. I said it before. I want to go to my first football game this year at Heinz Field, obviously. During game time, what's the vibe like in the stadium? I bet it's so fun. It is incredible. It is absolutely incredible, Miles, and it's a lot of fun. There's nothing like it, and you deserve to come to Pittsburgh. Make sure you like PM me or like get on. I'm at SN.Striker for Twitter and Instagram. Let me know when you're coming down. I'll tell you spots to hit. I'm always usually chilling. I'm a season ticket holder, so I usually come to town for the games too. But yeah, they're always fun. Derek, see you draft night. Go Steelers. Thanks, Derek. Robert, Miles Pressgrave, the vibe at Heinz Field is loud, high energy. Definitely is. Great show, Striker. See you Thursday. Thank you, Michael Scott, joiner. I'll see you on Thursday, Friday, and hopefully Saturday as well. Heather! How you doing, Heather? Who's making it to Heinz draft party? Right now, we only have Justin Fabus, the country music star, signed. We have all of the people still working on getting in some more Pittsburgh Steeler talent, which we are expecting to announce hopefully tomorrow. So it's not a surprise on Thursday to me and everyone else. Michael Hall, love the videos as always. Striker, perfect vidcast every time I watch. See you in the next one. Go Steelers! Brian Brown, awesome. Right, Charlie Sheen, not Martin Sheen. Thank you, Brian. I love that one, man. And guys, that's all the time we have for your vidcast. Thank you so much, guys. I know we ran a little late, but I mean, come on. This was the draft show. We had to run late. There's so much to talk about with the draft going on. But make sure you continue to come over to SteelerNation.com, where they will keep you up to date on the draft information, even better than I can, because they have better writers that are more focused on the draft. Go to SteelerNation.com. Sign up for the forum as well. That's where a lot of these buttheads like Cooley, like Robert C. come over and bust my balls, Brian and all them guys. But we love them. Great community over there. We always talk football, and we always are opinionated and have a great time with it. Be sure to follow the podcast. I'm going to be releasing the podcast. It's going to come out Friday at dkpittsburghsports.com, and I'll be going exclusively over our first-round draft pick and our needs for day 2. So that will be a fun podcast. It's going to drop probably right around noon, and then the video will probably premiere right before the draft. We'll see if I can bump that up to 5 o'clock, so we have that premiering right before my show starts at 6:30 that day. Read our great Steeler Focus article at SteelerNation.com. Tweet us at SteelerNation. Instagram us at SteelerNation.com. Follow the podcast on Twitter at _SN Podcast or Instagram at SteelerNation Podcast. And you can follow me at SN.Stryker on Twitter, on Instagram. Thanks for joining me on the Steeler Nation vidcast, sponsored by Total Sports Enterprises, part of the Big Play Vidcast Network. I'm your host, G.Stryker, rooting along with you as always. Oh no, where'd my window go? My window shrunk. Because I will be there with Beamer. I will be there with Richie Rich. Hey, like this video, guys. Thank you, Richie. And Brian Brown. And rooting along with Robert Tamburo, my friend. I'm currently drinking a whole organic Myers lemon pureed. Woo-hoo-hoo. Is that alcoholic? And finish off with Richie Rich. These videos are always great. Cheers, man. You guys have a great night. Rooting along with you all, as always. And the Steelers' new draft picks. Go Steelers! And where's that?